Commander Rourke, the sociopathic leader from Atlantis, represents military corruption at its darkest. Before the movie even starts, this balding military mall cop had orchestrated multiple expeditions where he accidentally abandoned team members to die when they became inconvenient to his plans. He spent years meticulously planning the Atlantis heist, keeping detailed journals about how he'd eventually betray his entire crew. His preparation was obsessive. Under the guise of scientific equipment, he smuggled enough military hardware to start a small war. He recruited mercenaries disguised as legitimate expedition members and manipulated Mr. Whitmore's trust while planning to steal from the very civilization his benefactor wanted to discover. During the journey, he viewed crew casualties as acceptable losses, showing zero remorse when team members died. Once they reach Atlantis, this power-hungry monster immediately plots to steal their power source, despite knowing it would doom an entire civilization. He viciously beats Kita's elderly father, kidnaps her while she's merged with the heart of Atlantis, and orders his men to execute anyone who resists. The dude's perfectly fine with leaving thousands of Atlanteans, including children, to die when their city collapses. When his inner evil finally manifests physically, he transforms into a crystal monster, Karma, giving his outer appearance a makeover to match his soul. His final moments show him fighting like a rabid animal until he's literally shattered into pieces by his own greed. The man from Bambi stands as Disney's faceless embodiment of humanity's darkest nature. Unlike most villains who get complex backstories or understandable motives, this nameless force of evil exists purely to represent mankind's capacity for mindless destruction. His actions create some of Disney's most traumatic moments. Appearing in the dead of winter, he murders Bambi's mother in cold blood, leaving her corpse in the snow with a young fawn to freeze to death. His hunting party demonstrates humanity's complete disregard for nature by starting a massive forest fire, forcing animals to flee directly into their line of fire. The film heavily implies this is far from a one-time occurrence. He's responsible for countless animal deaths, destroyed families throughout the forest, and brings terror wherever he goes. What makes him particularly disturbing is that he never shows any emotion or pleasure in his actions. It's all just business as usual. He represents humanity's thoughtless destruction of nature, killing not for food or necessity, but for sport. In Disney's universe, he's essentially death incarnate, bringing terror to an entire ecosystem of innocent creatures without ever showing his face. Madame Mim from The Sword in the Stone embodies chaos and cruelty hiding behind a deceptively playful exterior. This hideous hag openly brags about eating children, spreading deadly diseases, and torturing small animals purely for entertainment. During her famous wizard's duel with Merlin, she breaks every single rule while attempting to murder him, transforming into increasingly dangerous creatures and ignoring all established boundaries. Unlike other Disney villains who want power, wealth, or revenge, Mim causes pain solely because she enjoys watching others suffer. Madame Mim possesses an extraordinary range of magical powers which she gleefully uses to torment innocent people and animals alike. She can shapeshift into any form imaginable, from a deadly dragon to a sinister wisp of smoke, and she uses this ability to terrify unsuspecting villagers. She gleefully sings about spreading plagues and bringing death wherever she goes, treating murder and mayhem like her favorite hobbies. What makes her particularly disturbing is her complete lack of serious motivation. She doesn't want to rule anything or get revenge, she just wants to cause as much suffering as possible. In one particularly horrifying instance, she unleashed a fever so potent that an entire village was quarantined for weeks, with many succumbing to the illness. Mim found this hilarious, reportedly disguising herself as a healer to watch the chaos unfold. Mim's overconfidence eventually becomes her downfall. Merlin, using his superior wit and knowledge, transforms into a germ and infects Mim with a fictional illness called malignolitalopteriosis, leaving her bedridden and defeated. Clayton from Tarzan represents colonial brutality wrapped in a gentleman's facade. This psychotic hunter views gorillas as mere beasts to be exploited, revealing his racist colonial mindset from the start. Initially presented as a well-mannered and professional guide, his true intentions slowly reveal themselves as he expertly manipulates his way into the gorilla's territory, while viewing them as nothing but commodities to be captured and sold. His true savagery emerges when he attempts to commit genocide against the gorilla families, including infants, showing zero remorse or humanity. His violence escalates dramatically throughout the film, from subtle manipulation to attempting to murder Tarzan, a child he's known for weeks, and beating Kerchak to death with a rifle. He lies about his intentions, pretending to care about understanding the gorillas while plotting to capture and sell them, and this betrayal is what leads to Tarzan's trust in humans being destroyed. His crew of thugs reveals his true nature, a brutal colonial exploiter who sees the jungle and its inhabitants as things to be conquered and profited from. What makes him particularly vile is his complete dismissal of any intelligence or worth in the gorillas. Despite clear evidence of their society and family bonds, he sees them only as beasts to be caged or killed. His death comes from his own blind rage, slashing wildly at vines until he accidentally hangs himself, a perfect metaphor for how colonial brutality often leads to self-destruction. Judge Claude Frollo stands as Disney's masterclass in religious fanaticism turned psychopathic. This twisted zealot opens the film trying to drown an infant for being ugly, then murders its mother on the steps of Notre Dame. He spends the next 20 whole years psychologically torturing Quasimodo while orchestrating a genocide against the Romani people, all while convincing himself he's doing God's work by manipulating the church's authority. During Hellfire, we see just how deranged this religious fanatic really is. He's so warped that he blames his own lustful thoughts on Esmeralda, willing to burn all of Paris and murder countless innocents just because he can't handle his own desires. He quotes scripture while attempting murder, uses his position in the church to justify atrocities, and offers Esmeralda the choice between burning alive or becoming his concubine. Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog elevates evil to a supernatural level by literally making deals with demons. The Shadow Man doesn't just kill people, he damns their souls to eternal torment, treating human lives like currency for his demonic friends. Friends on the other side aren't just spooky shadows, they're actual demons collecting souls, and he helps them do it with a smile on his face. This voodoo practitioner manipulates people's deepest desires only to feed them to his shadow demons, transforms Prince Naveen into a frog to torture him slowly, and plans to murder Big Daddy purely for profit. What makes him especially disturbing is how he uses people's own dreams and hopes against them, turning their deepest desires into tools of their destruction. He targets the vulnerable, offering them the illusion of success while laying traps that ultimately seal their doom. His charismatic personality masks a complete lack of empathy. He's willing to damn countless souls just to maintain his own power. His eventual fate is particularly fitting, screaming in terror as his demon friends drag his soul to hell, becoming payment for his own evil deals. The Horned King from the Black Cauldron stands as one of Disney's most overtly demonic villains. This undead monstrosity maintains a dungeon filled with decomposing corpses and tortures victims for entertainment. His entire goal revolves around raising an army of the undead, the Cauldron-born, soulless warriors who feel no pain and mindlessly slaughter everything in their path. We literally see him sacrificing living people to the Black Cauldron, watching with glee as their flesh melts from their bones. His castle is essentially a medieval torture museum filled with instruments of pain and suffering, while his minions are walking corpses. Many villages and kingdoms surrounding his fortress live in terror, as they could easily be enslaved. Furthermore, he uses creatures such as the Creeper essentially like a slave who cannot revolt due to their intense fear for the Horned King. Disney had to significantly tone down his design and many scenes for release because test audiences found him too terrifying. What makes him particularly horrifying is his complete lack of humanity. He's not a corrupted human or a fallen hero, but pure undead evil, seeking to transform the world into a kingdom of death. His obsession eventually leads to his death when the Black Cauldron's power turns against him and he gets consumed by it. The Coachman from Pinocchio might be Disney's most disturbing creation, a child trafficker who operates with complete impunity. This sadistic monster runs a sophisticated operation disguised as an amusement park, luring young boys to Pleasure Island before corrupting them with vices and transforming them into donkeys while they remain fully conscious. The true horror? These children stay aware after their transformation, knowing they're being worked to death in salt mines but unable to speak or escape. All of this is part of the Coachman's plans as he exploited them for labor and treats them as items rather than humans. We see him grinning while children scream for their mothers, begging for help as they transform. His operation is disturbingly well organized. He has a network of collaborators, a system for transporting his victims and buyers ready to purchase the transformed children. But here's the most horrifying part. Unlike other Disney villains who face justice, this monster gets away with everything.